All right, good evening. With the time being 7:03, I call to order the meeting of the Francis Howell School District. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, which is going to be help us this evening from Sean Clucker, who is a Hollenbeck 7th grader with Scout Troop 72. If you'll lead us in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Can you remain standing?
This evening, we are going to have a moment of silence. We lost 2 district employees recently. Sherry Hahn and Don Schroer have left us and have passed on, so we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. Their service to the district was immeasurable. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mr. Lane. By roll call?
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Recognitions, Mr. Dykman.
Thank you, Mrs. Cope. The Francis Howell School District is proud to announce that for the second time in the past decade, Francis Howell Middle School has been selected as a National School of Character. Okay, you guys want to come on up? Each year, Character.org and its state affiliates select schools and districts that demonstrate a dedicated focus on character. Would the entire representative group from Francis Howell Middle School be so kind as to join us at the podium? Et cetera, a dedicated focus on character development programs and a positive impact on academic achievement, student behavior, student climate, and their communities. Only 83 schools from around the country were selected for the prestigious award this year. Francis Howell Middle School was selected to receive this honor for their work in demonstrating outstanding character education initiatives that deliver positive results in school climate, student behavior, and academic performance. Francis Howell Middle School works hard to create a caring environment where all will feel welcome. Character education is intentionally integrated into the academic program to promote a sense of responsibility, caring, and respect for the community and for the environment. Principal Dr. Ted Huff.
Thank you, Matt. I just wanted to say thank you for recognizing us this evening. It's not about recognition, it's about the work that we do day in and day out. But what I shared with the staff earlier in May was that what was exciting was that we, as Mr. Eichmann mentioned, in 2008, Francis Howell Middle School received the first National School of Character honor. And to back that up a little bit, in 2002 was when we started our character education journey. So now fast forward to 2017, and so 15 years later from starting our journey, and then 9 years after first being recognized, it's nice to know that the work still continues, that we're still at that same level of commitment to character education. And so I just shared with the staff and our community that that was the most exciting thing that I gathered from this whole piece and process was that the work is still continuing and that we're doing what's best for kids to help them have the best school community that they can have in their neighborhood. So, thank you.
Dr. James, also known as the Middle School Assistant Principal of the Year. Are you a parent or you a part of their committee? See, this is what being an administrator means. You got to come to all this kind of stuff. Thank you, Mrs. Cope.
All right, next on the agenda, just to let everyone in the audience know, and those that may be also watching the meeting at a later time, we are trying out some new technology. So shout out to the technology team. We're gonna move some things around and try to show more information in a more consumer-friendly manner. So let us know what you think. Next on our agenda is patron comments. So during patron comments, patrons are invited to address the Board of Education. Please come to the podium so everyone can hear. Please adhere to the 3-minute time limit. The board is interested in hearing the public's concerns and opinions, but we do not answer patron questions during the meeting. Questions and concerns will be addressed by Dr. Hendricks Harris and other appropriate staff members. Please remember that comments about individual students and staff are not allowed due to confidentiality, and these concerns need to be brought to the administration's attention and may be brought to the board in a closed session. Mr. Moore?
Hi, my name is Gary Moore. I got an asphalt paving business at Asphaltic Maintenance Company, and anyhow, I responded to a letter sent to me by Kevin Supple, and then I responded by sending a letter to him, Jeremy Butler, all of the board members, the superintendent, and Francis Howell's attorneys. To date, I've received no answers or response as to why you decided to award a contract to a higher bidder on the asphalt contract on 5/18/17. In the letter, Mr. Supple said that it was partially based on a clause in the bid documents about an apprenticeship program. And on that same meeting, 5/18/17, you awarded a contract to McConnell and Associates, even though they clearly stated they had no apprenticeship program. After explaining that AMC has performed hundreds of thousands of dollars of asphalt paving for the district in the previous years with no complaints. As a matter of fact, in the previous contract on which we were second on the 3-year contract, had no complaints, didn't have any questions on that. But after looking through what you awarded to the other contractor, Emeyer, that there were many discrepancies on awarding them projects. 4 of them being where their price was higher than mine, although I was not the low bidder. So I don't know how they can overcharge the district and the taxpayers, and there were many bids to where they performed seal coat operations and striping, and there was no comparable bids. So they also, let's see, oh yeah, and they were also, you guys, or not you guys, but Mr. Butler has sent you a letter requesting that you authorize Emeyer to pave 3,896 square yards, which clearly states in this bid and the previous one, anything over 1,500 square yards is supposed to go out for bid, and you've never done it. So I'd just like to know, why we didn't get it, because it was not the apprenticeship thing. And if it's a union thing, which he put in there in his first letter when he sent to you guys was recommended because of their Emeyer's union affiliation, Then he changed that. And, I mean, there's 15% of the working population in America that are union. So if that's all you want is union contractors, then maybe we can try and get to where you can only accept tax dollars from union people. Which, you know, how can you run this school district on 85% less than what you've got? So over 3 years, in the next 3 years, it's gonna cost these taxpayers tens of thousands of more dollars that you are spending. And I just don't think that's right. Thank you.
FHEA, FISPA, SAA, Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mr. Lang. By roll call?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Next on our agenda is academic high target, curriculum review, first reading. So we have several curriculums there, board. It is the first reading. Please take a look. Next, we have best practice, solar eclipse. Dr. Greiner?
Good evening, Board. It's my pleasure tonight to share with the Board and the community our plans for celebrating the Great American Solar Eclipse. For those of you that may not know, we will have a once-in-a-lifetime event happening in our area on August 21st, 2017, so a month from tomorrow. There's been a lot of work happening around the district to prepare our schools for a great event, and so just wanted to take a couple minutes tonight and share with you some of the plans that we have for a very unique event happening in our community. So again, just to talk a little bit about some of the background around the event. The last time this area witnessed a total solar eclipse was back in 1492, so when Columbus was coming over and we had the solar eclipse. So we have the solar eclipse, total solar eclipse happening here in just a month, and then the next time, if you miss it, Rich, if you miss it, it won't come around again until 2505. So it'll be a little while. Yeah, you and Ted Williams maybe, and can come back and see the next one. All right, I'll stop telling jokes. So just again, a little information about the event. What they call the Path of Totality stretches from Oregon to South Carolina, and the actual complete total eclipse will occur right around 1:19 in the afternoon on Monday the 21st. So pretty big deal, and for those of you that might not be completely locked into what's happening, over the last year there's been a lot of discussion in the science community. There are huge groups of people coming together to plan for the event. St. Louis Science Center, for example, had groups coming together for an entire year, planning activities. So in many circles, this is a huge deal, so we're hoping for good weather on the 21st, because that'd be a bummer. So again, just to zoom in a little closer to where the path impacts Missouri, you'll see that it moves in I feel like a weatherman here, moves in from northwest to southeast, and sort of closer to the middle of that band is where you'll see the greatest amount of viewing of the eclipse. And so we're lucky to be in a pretty good spot, just southwest of St. Louis. So just a heads up, during the totality, it will become as dark as it is at night. And so it'll be kind of creepy, kind of weird, something that animals nature, not used to. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. There's lots of theories about how animals will respond and what they'll do prior to. I'm not smart enough to know any of that, so I'd be happy to take your questions as someone who's a lot smarter than me. But it should be a very interesting event, and again, the total path, that whole thing will be about a minute and a half, where we'll be completely dark. So the district has made plans to have glasses available for all of our students and staff. There was an order placed this spring, and thanks to the work of Dr. Sherry Lorton and Amy Ridling, science content leaders in our district, along with April Burton, who's our technology content lead, they worked with our finance office to place an order to have glasses available at all of our sites. And they did a great job of being on the front end of that, because as we've gotten closer to the event, the cost of those glasses has risen. So we were able to get in early and get a good deal on the glasses. And that's just a picture of what the glasses look like. So if you guys are interested in participating, all of our buildings have plenty of glasses. You're welcome to come to a building, or actually here at district office, we have a group, I believe, headed by our own Jason Adams. He can clue you into some of the cool details of what's happening here. I know that there's food involved, so that's always a good thing. So lots of things happening around the district, but everyone that wishes to participate, staff and students, will have access to glasses. I know that's hard to read up on the big screen, but we had a group come together in late May to pull together resources for our schools. We know that all of our schools can't do the exact same thing in the exact same way at the same time. So we wanted to provide a menu of options for all of our schools, from early childhood all the way to high school. So this representative group came together, again, under the leadership of April and Sherry and Amy, and they did a great job of providing a one-stop shop site for schools to consider as they're putting together the activities for the day, as well as some best practices regarding safe viewing of the eclipse. So just this last slide will take us to the actual website that the team developed. And just to hit a couple of highlights of this website, there are two tabs in the upper right-hand corner. The first is a safety tab that, again, just outlines some best practices for buildings to consider as they safely view the eclipse. I know that we have buildings that have some concerns about, especially our younger students, and the ability to keep the glasses on and not looking up into the sun at the wrong time. So there are some options that we've made available for safe indoor viewing, some things that they can do, through a window with some film that they could put on the windows to look safely at the eclipse if they were concerned about their students. There are lots of options for our district to consider, but again, just some best practices regarding safety during the event. And then the other tab speaks to resources that were gathered by the committee, and as Jason scrolls down, you can see there that from pre-K all the way to high school, there's a plethora of opportunities for buildings to build a plan that meets their needs and gives classroom teachers and schools just as many options as possible to consider. So with that, I'll entertain any questions from the board about the Great American Solar Eclipse. I think the food here is around noon-ish. Oh, it'll be during the lunch hour. But we do appreciate Jason, and there's a group, committee, there's always a committee, yeah.
Moon pies and sun chips and crescent rolls.
So thank you very much for bringing the presentation to us tonight.
Sure.
It's an exciting opportunity, as you mentioned, once in a lifetime. So I'm glad as a district we're embracing that with our students.
And just one last note, so buildings, as they develop their plans, then they will be communicating to their families exactly what's happening in each of their buildings during the first couple weeks of school. Thank
Very
you.
nice. Thank you very much.
And I just want to publicly thank Sherry and Amy and April for spearheading the work group. They started this work probably in the middle of second semester. So it's been a work in progress for quite some time, and we're excited about the opportunities on the education end of Eclipse, for the Eclipse that's going to happen for our students, and certainly the opportunity that all of our students are going to be able to participate and see this once-in-a-lifetime event. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Thank you.
Excited about the variety and number of resources that are available for our teachers to plan. It looks great. Also glad we got our order in early. I've actually heard a couple organizations that are on a wait list. They may not get their glasses, so.
We were also included in a Fox 2 story yesterday. They were going down the ever-expanding list of districts that will be closed because of the event, and we were mentioned as one of the ones who will be open and have a variety of curricular opportunities for students.
Okay. MSBA Board, July Board Report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report for the month of July. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the development of Missouri's state plan required under the federal government's Every Student Succeeds Act. The plan will provide the framework by which programs associated with ESSA are administered. Those programs provide assistance to rural and low-income students, along with services to students who are migrants, at-risk, homeless, and English learners. Commissioner of Education Dr. Margie Van Dieven told an audience at MSBA's recent Leadership Summit, while the state's ESSA plan is important, the Missouri School Improvement Plan will remain the driving force for school accountability in our state.
So in Missouri, we have selected the Missouri School Improvement Program as our driver, as our driving force on accountability. ESSA aligns to that and will feed into that program. So we will be seeing some shifts, but primarily I would pay attention to MSIP 6 and what's happening there. ESSA we will still use as a big driver in identifying our schools in Title I who are most in need of direct services and supports that can be provided. So we will still be required to identify our lowest performing schools, and then we'll be able to support them accordingly, and that's based upon your math and English language arts scores and your attendance or graduation rates. So pay attention to that.
Van Dieven participated in a panel discussion at the Leadership Summit with State Board of Education Vice President Vic Lenz and MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will submit the state plan to the U.S. Department of Education in September. Meanwhile, work groups have been meeting to develop the standards to be included in the 6th version of the Missouri School Improvement Program. During that panel discussion, MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall told the audience not to fall into the trap of criticizing private schools and homeschoolers when opposing vouchers. She says the real issue with vouchers is accountability.
The argument is about, do we need a healthy, robust public education system to meet the needs of children? We shouldn't be in a debate on whether or not parents want to opt their children into private school or parents want to opt their children into homeschooling. What we ought to be about is making sure that the public education system is robust, that it is, when we're spending public taxpayer dollars, that there's accountability, and both for the children, ultimately for the children, and certainly for how the tax dollars are spent. Now, if other institutions want to access that, they ought to play by the same rules, but this is not us versus them.
Randall says she expects voucher proposals such as education savings accounts to be discussed again during next year's legislative session. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court has issued a ruling in a case involving Trinity Lutheran Church in Columbia that was watched closely by MSBA and other public education groups. The court ruled the church is eligible to receive a state grant to resurface its playground. However, the ruling was quite narrow and did not address the issue of whether or not private schools could receive public money under the Missouri Constitution. The new president of the Missouri School Boards Association is Jan Meese of the Columbia Board of Education. She assumed the role of president at the end of the Leadership Summit after serving as president-elect this past year. During her remarks, she said challenging issues facing the public schools of Missouri are not going away.
Our voice has to continue to be strong and proactive, never giving up on our efforts to promote the power and potential of public education.
State officers elected at the June Delegate Assembly included President-elect Mike Pratt of the Gasconade County R1 Board of Education and Vice President Rhonda Gilstrap of the Blue Springs Board of Education. MSBA presented individual board members with awards for achieving various certification levels during the Leadership Summit. 16 school boards were recognized as Outstanding Boards of Education for 2017, and 24 school boards achieved MSBA's Governance Team Award. One of the keynote speakers at the Leadership Summit was the current president of the National School Boards Association, Kevin Siak, a school board member from New Jersey. Siak reminded board members students entering kindergarten this year will be high school graduates in the year 2030. He said school boards need to think about the kind of leadership necessary to ensure the graduates of 2030 will be prepared for their future. He also stressed the importance of providing educational options within the public school system.
And what is the strategic asset that stands behind public schools? What makes them great? We serve all. So how do you take a model that's designed to serve all and lift a nation and secure its national security and translate that to a model that not only serves all, but also meets the demands of what individual parents want for their children?
MSBA delegates had the opportunity to discuss a draft of the association's advocacy positions document during the Delegate Assembly, held at the Leadership Summit. During the past few months, the MSBA Advocacy Committee and Executive Committee have been working to combine the association's legislative resolutions, platform statements, and the Missouri Public Education Vision Project document into a single advocacy document that clearly states MSBA's positions on issues related to public education. Member boards now have the opportunity to submit amendments and new resolutions to be included in the document. The Advocacy Committee will consider those proposals along with the discussion at the June Delegate Assembly and submitted comments before sending a final draft of the advocacy document to the Delegate Assembly for final approval in early October. Registration for the 2017 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators is now open. This year's event is scheduled for October 5th through 8th at the Lake of the Ozarks. You can register for the annual conference on the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Great, thank you. Board, I entertain a motion to approve the purchases over $7,500. Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Lang. Discussion? By roll call?
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal of the 5-year property lease for the property located at 5250 Central School Road with SSB&H Partnership in the amount of $4,300 per month throughout the term of the lease as presented. Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Lang. Mrs. Hendricks Harris? No? Sorry, thought you were. Okay. Any discussion?
I apologize for not submitting this earlier, but it just kind of came, I just thought of it here, or just got a chance to look at it. I guess the question I have is, did we bid this out, or were there other facilities that we looked at, or due to the amount of leasehold improvements in this property, it's easier just to renew the lease? Or do you know?
This is Kevin's area. Cindy, you got anything on that? This is their existing space. So Sodexo has been placed there for many years. I believe originally that they did do some shopping and bidding out of the lease space, but we have not looked at rebidding out or looking at the lease space since their original placement.
Correct. We did not rebid out this space. We did meet with the landlord and discuss improvements, and other things that need to be done, like painting and stuff like that for upkeep. But we've been in that location for over 10 years at least by now, and it's a space that we provide for Sodexo to run their operations.
Any additional discussion? Okay, by roll call.
Mr. Lane?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Now, superintendent comments.
I just want to start by thanking the board. I know it seems like it's been forever ago, but I want to thank you for your work and your conversation at the board retreat. I know it's difficult to carve out a full day, and I appreciate you doing that through all your busy schedules. I think that was just another example of the board's dedication to our district and its students. And I just want to remind everyone that you are all volunteers, and I appreciate your level of commitment. I saw on Facebook today about you all getting your bonuses, and just want to remind everybody that that's not a thing. It's not. There's no bonuses for you all. I want to make the board aware of a facilities issue. We were made aware Tuesday evening that there was water in the boiler room at Sager. A fire main was leaking underground, and the line needed to be shut off. This specific line serves the sprinkler system in the building, so this is now requiring a 24-hour fire watch. Wednesday, they began excavation outside the building and in the boiler room. The leak appears to be under the footing, so the work is going to be extremely time-consuming. We expect the work to be completed in the next few days, but it's an unknown. The 24-hour fire watch has been approved by the fire department and will continue as long as necessary. We're in the process of finalizing the strategic planning committee membership. The last 2 community spots were filled with Josh McGoffey from the St. Charles Ambulance District and Dr. Linda Levitt from Lindenwood. Our first full day meeting will be on August 24th. Francis Howell was notified this week and has been named one of the top 10 school districts on social media in the USA by Box Clever Education. No other Missouri school districts are on the list. Special thanks to our communications department for all their hard work in ensuring that we maximize this channel of communications. As you know, preparations are underway for the first day of school on August 9th. We'll have 101 new teachers in here next week for 5 days of orientation. So if you've tracked our number of new teachers, that is a large number, and 101 was the last I checked, so we could be up from there. HR is in the process of screening and interviewing more than 150 substitute applications, and they recently retrained 435 subs. 54 staff have been hired, but we still have 81 support staff openings, so please everyone tell your friends to check out our website. Kickoff will take place on August 7th. This week we had new teachers picking up their computers, coaches' nights, kindergarten success camp, and trainers in for training. There's quite a buzz at district office and in the building as the excitement builds for our students. That's all.
Thank you. And Sean, thank you for joining us tonight. You'll notice that this is going to be one of our shortest meetings, so you picked the right one to come.
It's a good night to earn a badge.
All right, board, if you have any Board of Education requests, please, again, we talked about it a little bit at our board retreat. Make sure you get those put forward. Let's take a look at our I'm sorry?
Do those now, or do we do those?
Yes, now.
Mm-hmm.
We have one.
Mr. Hay?
Yeah, I have one in our board retreat. We covered some information on Senate Bill 182. That's scheduled to go into effect on August 28th. It has impact on our bidding process and our bids, so I believe we should move that forward as an action item on next month's meeting.
I should have updated you in closed session. We are going to add that to legal in closed, and if necessary, between now and then, we will also add to the policy in open session.
Thank you.
Still doing some homework on that one.
Any other Board of Education requests? Okay. Take a look at our upcoming meetings, our August 17 meeting. So we tentatively have the Senate Bill 182 if necessary. Any other additions to the August meeting? We can now take a look at the September meeting. Any addition or changes to the September meeting? All right. You'll notice on the agenda, it's a placeholder right now, but as we discussed in our board retreat, we will be adding Board of Education committee reports, and we'll be reporting out on the committees that we are participating in. We'll do that every other month. Board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mr. Lang. By roll call.
Mr. Hain,
Aye. Motion carries 6-0.